What's up, Agency Go fam? So I've been doing a bit of a series where I've been documenting our entire journey up until when we first started our agency in 2018, all the way till now. So I have one video, if you want to check it out, is how we grew from 10K to 80K per month in our agency. And then another video on how we grew from 100K to $200,000 per month, which I saw as like two very distinct times within our agency. Now, in this video, I want to talk about what I've learned from agencies larger than us and how that can apply to your agency. And so, if you think about it, most agencies never actually get beyond $1 million in revenue. In fact, the statistic from the Small Business and Labor Association, I think it is the SBA, they have it that I believe it's 5% of all businesses actually get above $1 million in revenue. And then, if you talk about $2 million in revenue, it's probably 2.5%. And then if you're talking about more than that, multiples of that, $10 million in revenue is probably the top 0.1%, right? Very small amounts of businesses actually get to those revenue numbers. And I have had the opportunity within Agency Go and building this community and also having these interviews to interview a lot of different individuals. And I'm gonna break down each one of their stories in this video and talk about what I've learned, like the cross comparisons between all of them that I think is very important to take away. And also I've had the opportunity to really dive deep into these agencies and sift through the noise, because I think that a lot of people will talk a lot online and they don't actually deliver any kind of results, or they haven't actually built an agency, they just kind of talk. This is something that I hope will be helpful for you to sift through the noise. So the first person I want to highlight is the largest agency that I've ever interviewed, and their company is called Abstract Management. They do $54 million per year in revenue. The founder of the company, his name is Scott Scully. Very interesting dude. He built the agency over 20 years, right? 20-year time frame. Very compounding growth. I asked him, I said, what was the graph of the growth? Was it up and to the right, or was it just a compounding, linear growth? And he said that it was compounding. He said he has not really had any month or any year where things have just kind of gone up and to the right. It's never been exponential. For the last 20 years, he's just added 30% growth every year, right, to that agency. And what do? They basically do lead generation, end-to-end lead generation for sales reps for clients. And I asked him, what is the strategy there? How has that been so successful? And he said that what he does is he has all these people who are doing cold calling, cold emailing, and they have 170 cold callers. And they kind of do the shared lead system where people will reach out to prospects on behalf of a client, and then they'll also prospect for Abstract Management. Essentially, what they do is they have these 170 people calling 130 people per day, right? So 130 people per day, and every single person is required to book 50 meetings. Now you might be thinking 50 meetings per person is a lot, right? And it is a lot, honestly. You have to be pretty trained. But what he does is he breaks everyone into these different pod systems, and then every single team of these individual fractional units compete against each other to get the most meetings booked. And he expects that by month 3 that you will have hit that quota of 50 meetings booked per month as a rep, right? And the thing that he does, which is really interesting, is he hires all of his people for the most part out of the St. Louis area, right? Because that's where he's located, out of St. Louis, Missouri. A lot of his clients, he told me, are out of California. Now let's do the math here. His average retainer is $3,750 per month, right? That's his average retainer. So if his average retainer is $3,750 per month for a fully end-to-end rep, do you know how much that would cost to get a fully end-to-end rep booking 50 meetings per month for somebody in California? It'd be very expensive. You're talking $5,000, $5,500 per month for that kind of performance. Maybe even more. The thing is that, with those end-to-end reps, it's very difficult to find that kind of talent for that price. So all these people in California are essentially coming to him and doing what I always talk about on this show, which is currency arbitrage, right? Currency arbitrage. Because nowadays with marketing agencies, you can get talent anywhere. They're all over the place. There's a lot of really awesome talent. Everyone has access to the same information, which is the internet. That's why it's digital marketing, right? So if everyone has access to the same information, you get the same results for a fraction of the price, and you can still pay them well, and they're still less than people in the United States, right? And so this is a huge thing. And if you're in the States, you could do the outsourced work, and you find someone in the Midwest where it's cheaper than on the coasts, right? Because in the West Coast and East Coast, it's a lot more expensive. And so that's something I learned with my agency, and this was very important to hear him talk about it. I've had him on the show twice talking about everything. It's just a very interesting guy. Another guy I talk about a lot in the show is Cooper Saunders. He scaled his agency to $8 million per year in revenue. He is 25 years old. And the company's called Wise Guys Digital Marketing. And his strategy was eerily similar to Abstract Management. All of his team is basically located out of the Midwest. He essentially told me that during COVID, he had all these people cancel their contracts with big marketing agencies and come hire him and his team for $2,500 per month for outsourced CMO work, when typically that price point for that kind of work is like $4,000 per month. When you look at a company like Hawk Media, who's scaled to be really large, they charge really expensive rates, but they have this huge competitive advantage. Now, a company like Wise Guys Digital benefited during that downturn and they grew a bunch, right? And that's one thing, that's a pattern that keeps coming up over and over again. Now, I did ask him, I said, how many sales reps do you have closing deals versus how many sales reps do you have booking appointments? And are they separate, or are they kind of doing the same thing? And he said that he has setters and he has closers. And he has one setter for every $2 million in revenue that's produced. So right now he has, one closer. So he has basically 3 closers, including himself, for that $4 million in revenue. And a bunch of people booking meetings. And that's it. And that kind of rocked my world, because then I started thinking, okay, is that a common pattern between top agencies? Is it the fact that there's one closer for every $2 million per year in revenue generated for these top agencies? And the answer is yes. That is a pattern I have seen over and over again, that the top agencies have one sales closer for every $2 million in revenue that their agency produces. Now, that was a huge miss on my part, because when I was scaling my agency, I had one closer for every $1 million in revenue that I produced. And that's why my agency sort of hit a bit of a plateau, and we haven't gotten past the $185,000 per month mark yet. And I think we will, hopefully this year. I mean, the goal is to get to 240, 300, obviously, but we'll see. I mean, the biggest thing is that we made all these changes with the business to try to comply with what we're learning from these larger agencies. So that's the second one. The other agency that's pretty large is My Amazon Guy. They're a member of the group. I'm not gonna get into any of the confidential information, but just he's been able to scale the agency to a pretty great size. And one of the things that he's said publicly many, many times is that he has hundreds of people across the world working within his company. Now, how do you have hundreds of people doing this if you're in the, let's say, I won't say the exact number, but at least within the $5 to $10 million range, right? How do you have hundreds of people working for you, right? The only way you can do that is if you're doing currency arbitrage, right? He has all these people from all these super talented people from all over the world, places like India, Pakistan, etc., even in Europe or in the Philippines, working with him on his Amazon work, right? And he has hundreds of these people, right? There's just no way you can have that size when your company's doing less than 10 million a year. If he was doing maybe 100 million a year or 50 million, I would understand that out of the States, but he has it all outsourced for the most part. He also has a lot of people in the States too, so it's kind of like diverse. But at the end of the day, it's a very similar pattern that I'm seeing within his company, as I saw in digital marketing, or Wise Guys Digital, and also in Abstract Management. All of that is exactly the same patterns, right? And so if you want to build a $10 million agency, follow these patterns, follow these traits: currency arbitrage, making sure that you have a lean team, making sure that your product is efficient operationally so that you can charge less than your competitors and actually still make a margin, which is just like business 101. If you can charge less, or you have more value that you're providing, but you're still making hay, you're still making great margins on it, then you can win. You can beat out the competition. And that's what all these agencies owners are doing. And that's what our playbook has been. And it's actually really interesting because the last thing that I'll say, all three of them do really well, and even the other agency owners I've interviewed, is they have a huge social media presence, right? Or they're in the process of building it, or they're putting a lot of investment into that, right? And that's because it's a much cheaper way to get leads. If you have all that coming in as well on top, so they all, like My Amazon Guy has a huge Amazon channel. This is public information. Just go look up on YouTube. It literally has all these people following him and viewing his stuff. So many leads come from that, right? So it does not matter. I mean, Wise Guys Digital, Cooper Saunders has a book that he wrote, right? So like all these people are just following the same exact pattern, right? So this is what I would do to get from $1 million or $2 million roughly is where we're at now, roughly, really close to it, to $10 million. That's sort of the path I'm seeing. And then going from 10 to 100 is really honestly rinse and repeating the same stuff. Like once you have a large sales team, you figure out currency arbitrage, it's honestly more like strategy, talent, culture, mergers and acquisitions and things of that nature that really help you scale your agency at that point. So I hope this has been helpful for you, Agency Go fam. Like and subscribe to this channel if you want more information just like this. And feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below. I'm going to answer them when I get a chance to help you grow your agency. And I hope to see you in the Agency Go membership. If you want free access to everything that we offer, you can go to agencygo.io/leads to get everything for free. All right, peace.